Every morning, my bedroom door was locked tight. From the inside, I live alone. One night, I stayed awake in the living room. At 3:12 a.m., I heard the lock click upstairs. Something inside my room wanted privacy. The old house stood on a hill, a silhouette against the bruised twilight sky. My name is Alex, and I'm a paranormal investigator, or at least, I try to be. Most of the time, it's just creaky floorboards and drafts. But the Hemlock House, this place was different. The locals whispered stories about it, tales of a room on the second floor that had been sealed for nearly a century. A room where something terrible happened, and of course, I had to see for myself. The front door groaned open, spilling a wave of musty air that tasted of dust and decay. I made my way up the grand, rotting staircase, each step a mournful creak. At the end of the hall, there it was, a heavy oak door, its keyhole plugged with rust and time. No handle, no knob, just solid, unyielding wood. The previous owner's diary mentioned it was nailed shut from the outside. I had a crowbar for that. With a shriek of protesting metal and splintering wood, the door finally gave way. The air that rushed out was cold, unnaturally so. It was a stale, stagnant cold, like a forgotten tomb. I swept my flashlight beam across the room. It was a child's bedroom, frozen in time. A small rocking horse stood in the corner, its painted eyes seeming to follow my light. A dusty doll lay on a tiny, perfectly made bed. Everything was covered in a thick blanket of dust, except for one spot. In the center of the floor, a small circle was wiped clean, as if something had been standing there. And in the middle of that circle sat a single, old-fashioned jack-in-the-box. Its paint was faded, the clown's smile more of a grimace. I felt a prickle of unease crawl up my spine. This wasn't right. The diary spoke of the family's young daughter, Lily, who had vanished without a trace. This was her room. I knelt, my camera rolling, and reached out to touch the box. It was ice cold. As my fingers brushed against the metal crank, a sound echoed from behind me. A soft, rhythmic thump, thump, thump. I spun around, heart pounding in my chest. The rocking horse, it was moving. Gently, back and forth, all on its own. The air grew heavier, colder. I could see my breath misting in the flashlight beam. I told myself it was just a draft, the house settling, but I knew it wasn't. I turned my attention back to the jack-in-the-box. There was no way I was turning that crank. But then, a faint melody began to drift through the room. Pop goes the weasel. It wasn't coming from the box, it was coming from everywhere. A thin, ethereal music box tune that seemed to scrape against my eardrums. The thumping of the rocking horse grew faster, more frantic. The doll on the bed, I swear its head had turned slightly, its glassy eyes now fixed on me. A child's giggle, faint and distant, echoed in the silence between the musical notes. It was a playful sound, but it was filled with a chilling, ancient sorrow. My courage was failing. This wasn't a draft. This wasn't the house settling. This was something else. Is anyone here? I asked, my voice trembling. Lily? The music stopped abruptly. The rocking horse fell still. The silence that followed was more terrifying than the noise. It was a heavy, expectant silence, and then, a new sound. A slow, metallic creak, creak, creak. I looked at the jack-in-the-box. The crank was turning, by itself, slower and slower, each turn of the handle ratcheting up the tension in the room, until I felt like I was going to scream. The music started again, but this time it was distorted, slow, like a dying music box. The melody warped into a discordant dirge. My hand, holding the camera, was shaking uncontrollably. I knew I should run. I knew I should get out of that room, out of that house, and never look back. But I was frozen, mesmerized by the slow, inevitable turning of the crank, and then it stopped. The music cut out. The room was plunged back into a dead, suffocating silence. For a second, I thought it was over. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. That was my mistake. With a sudden, violent explosion of sound, the lid of the box burst open, but it wasn't a clown that sprang out. It was a dark, swirling mass of shadow, a formless void that seemed to suck the light from my flashlight. A shriek tore through the air, a sound of pure agony and rage that wasn't human. It filled the room, the house, my head. The temperature plummeted, and frost began to spiderweb across the walls. The shadowy form coalesced, taking on the vague shape of a small child, but its eyes were burning pinpricks of malevolent light. It wasn't Lily. It was the thing that had taken her. It lunged towards me, not with a physical body, but as a wave of pure, concentrated cold and despair. I scrambled backwards, tripping over my own feet, and fell hard against the doorframe. I didn't even feel the pain. My only thought was escape. I crawled out into the hallway, grabbing the heavy door and pulling it shut with all my might. The unholy shriek was muffled, but the raw hatred behind it still vibrated through the wood. I didn't stop to get my tools. I didn't stop for anything. I fled down the stairs, out the front door, and didn't look back until the Hemlock House was just a dark shape against the horizon. I can still hear the music box sometimes, in the dead of night. I can still feel that cold. Some doors are locked for a reason. And some things refuse to leave. Thanks for watching. If you have your own stories, I'd love to hear them. Stay safe out there.